and regulations governing remote meetings, NJAC 5:39-1.5. I hereby declare this meeting of the Holmdel Township Zoning Board to be open and announce that adequate and electronic notice of this meeting was provided in notices dated January 8th, 2021 and March 12th, 2021. Notices were sent to the Asbury Park Press, Two River Times, and posted on the bulletin board and on the main access door to Town Hall. Notices were filed in the clerk's office and posted on the township's website at www.holmdeltownship.com. This meeting is being conducted on a remote electronic basis using Zoom with live streaming on Facebook and YouTube, and will be archived on the township's YouTube and Facebook pages. As such, recordings of a public meeting are public records, subject to the Open Public Records Act. There will be an opportunity for members of the public to ask questions or provide comments once the meeting is open to the public. At that time, you will need to use the raise your hand feature on the bottom of the screen, and you will be invited into the meeting by the chairperson one at a time. You will need to have audio and video capability. You will be sworn in and asked to provide your name and address for the record. You may also dial 9 if accessing this meeting by telephone.
Roll call.
Ms. Savran,
Yes.
Mr. Blumenthal,
Yes, here.
Mr. Buffalino,
Here.
Ms. Campus,
Here.
Mr. Hearn,
Here.
Mr. Orphanatopoulos,
Here.
and Mr. Pesci.
Here.
I'm sorry, Ms. Kalor and Mr. Latif.
Yeah.
Sorry. Please all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and then stay standing thereafter for a moment of silence to honor the military who've been wounded or killed in action, as well as our police and first responders.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You. Okay, moving on to item 1 on the agenda. Jerry, you want to read item 1?
Christy Orlick, 11 Goldsmith Drive, Block 28.01, Lot 1 in the R40A zone, ZB variance number 447. Applicant seeks variance relief for a 65-foot setback from the property line where 100 feet is required. Applicant also seeks a 15-foot setback from the back of the property where 25 feet is required to permit them to be 30 feet as required from the Board of Health for their septic tank.
Okay, who here is representing the Orlicks and the applicant?
Excuse me, Christy, is Mark Remo with you?
No.
No,
Nick,
okay.
the pool.
Yeah, Nick is in.
Nick is in
here.
there. Yeah.
Mhm.
Is
Hi,
Mark?
Sarika.
Mark was the survey person?
Oh, hi, Sareka is there.
Yes.
Hi. Please note that Sareka has joined the meeting at 7:06. So anyway, could each of you identify yourself for the record? And so then I don't know, who's gonna make a presentation on behalf of the applicant?
Well, I'm the applicant. I'm Christy.
Okay.
Present yourself.
Yes, my name is Nick Tsukas. I'm the owner of Grecian Pools International. We were contracted to potentially do this pool in this backyard. So if you want me to go ahead and start explaining the situation, I can do so.
Or
Just some house
do
cleaning
you want
first.
to say anything or you want to let Nick proceed?
Well, let's just swear in Ms. Orlick and Nick. And Ms. Orlick, is that the person next to you, are they going to be testifying as well or just yourself?
Yes, I might as well.
That's my
And your name?
David Pesso, and I'm also the owner.
Okay. Okay, so if you, all three of you will raise your right hand, and do you swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, just so for
Yes.
the record, we've sworn in the two applicants, and and the pool expert. I would say, Ralph, if you want to have the applicant just give a quick overview of what they're doing and then go into the expert.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree. Go ahead. So,
Yes, so we're Holmdel residents for 15 years. We sold our house about a year and a half ago and recently purchased the property here at 11 Goldsmith Drive. And after finding out how spread out our septic tank was and the position of it pretty much being right in the middle of our backyard, when we went to put in the pool and found out from the health department that you needed to be at least 30 feet away, that kind of made it where almost we couldn't have a pool because of the layout of how the septic is. So then we find out from when we hired Nick from Grecian Pools that you need to be, we're on a corner lot and we have three
Streets, the property's facing 3 streets.
Right,
It's
we're
almost like a little
facing 3
peninsula.
streets. So because of the 3 streets, it's kind of like a corner on 3 avenues, that any way we went, we wouldn't be able to do it because you have to have 100 feet away from each street. That's what we found out after Nick tried to pull the permit. So basically, and the back of ours is pretty, the back is our neighbor. And we found out that you must be 25 feet. So the only way we could configure the pool to be somewhat workable is if we're only 65 feet away from Line Road and 15 feet from our neighbor that's in the back. And the 3 other sides, there's no neighbor because it's the streets.
Nick, you want to please introduce yourself and your professional affiliation and then add your comments as to what's from your perspective, what's going on here?
Yes, again, my name is Nick Tsukas. I own Grecian Pools. We actually have an office in Bellworks in Holmdel for a little over 3.5 years. And I actually did Dave's Pools many years ago in his previous house. The normal setbacks are less than 100, but because this property is kind of unique, that it's almost like a peninsula, when I approached zoning to try to find out how we could do this pool, we were told that the setback was going to have to now be 100. And that's when the whole bowl started rolling. The septic system and its tanks around it are unfortunately in a spot that kind of cuts the yard in a way that you can't really put the pool in. So the reason why we filed for this variance is to get, we have no place to put it. We can't put it. We have to stay a minimum 30 feet away. When you stay 30 feet away in any direction from the septic system, there's no room. You're encroaching on the 100. And the reason why we had to set it back instead of 25 to 15 is, again, we're trying to almost create like an L. It's the only spot we really can where it makes sense. And we're requesting this variance to be heard and hopefully approved. In regards to prior to us having this meeting, we had some notes given to us by the township engineer, and the township engineer wanted to see how we were going to handle the water because of pitching issues. So I was able to sketch a layout of the pool and, the slopes around it. And we would have to basically, because it's almost like a little over 2 foot of a pitch from the back of the house to the back of the property, we were going to step it down. So we're no more than about anywhere from 12 to 18 inches and set up a French drain as shown on that plan where I could catch the water and move it towards an open area on the property, towards the street on both sides and not affect the neighbor in the back. We tried every way, shape or form. This has been going on for 3-4 months now, how to possibly place this pool. And originally this wasn't even the shape. We had to change the whole idea in the hopes that we can catch that curve and put this pool in and not affect anybody.
Okay. Now, the board members did receive a survey from Lakeland Survey. showing in colors where the pool's going and showing where the setback you're showing. I don't see
Yes.
on here anything about the drainage that is that a?
So if you,
drawing?
yeah, I drew that. And if it needs to be engineered, obviously we would, we'll do it for sure. But I wanted to be somewhat prepared and give the option. We want to see what we can do. So I have it color coordinated. So where that 15-foot back line is, right in front of it, I have a retaining wall. And in front of the retaining wall would be the French drain. That retaining wall, based on the calculations of the surveyor and the topography map, is at that point, I would be roughly 12 to 13 inches above the back of the property. By raising it up that foot, I'm able to create pitch so I don't send water unnecessarily to the property behind. Having that retaining wall and a French drain in front and being able to now have some height to get daylight to pitch the water in two different directions will prevent the water from ever getting to that neighbor. Although that there's nothing, there's other than bush and trees and what have you, there's still 15 feet of grass that the water can go to. But regardless of that, I have the French drain set up, the proposed French drain, to catch the water and send it to different directions. You could probably read that, it was reviewed by the engineer as well.
Bob?
Mr. Chairman, yeah, I was just gonna, there's a lot going on here. The picture is great, but like you said, there's gonna be retaining walls. Now, you show 3 green circles. Are they septic tanks that
Yeah,
are on the property?
Color code at the top. I don't know if it's legible.
You just have septic and
So it's
septic
the
tank
main-
setbacks.
Yeah, there's a septic tank, and then the 3 is where, the runoff water goes to. It's not a
Okay.
leach.
The middle one
Where
is the
is
septic
that?
tank.
That's my question.
The middle one.
Where is the septic fields? Where
Oh,
are
there's
the
no field.
laterals that come out?
Well, is it a field or is it pits?
They're pits.
Those
There's
are
no
the
field.
three
It's not a leach
pits.
field. It's
Do
not
you-
a leach field.
There's no leachate field.
No,
No.
Okay, so everything goes into pits.
yes.
Correct.
All right, now, I mean, this is great, but these are approximate locations, and you're doing a lot of work here. It would be my suggestion that you have to get an engineer and show where the walls are going to, the walls are going to be and how it's going to be draining, and locate these off the house. So the board has a real good feeling or a real good sense of, is this really 30 feet away from that septic tank?
Have you specifically located where those pits are?
Yeah, well, we had a diagram at the closing that they gave us from the company that previously, I guess, cleaned them and maintained them, and we submitted them as well. That shows the exact dimensions of them and where they exactly are.
I mean, there's no, and again, I mean, you identify that you got an 18-inch wall. Now, does that wall have to go as far I mean, you're showing it that it's going off into the neighbor's property. The
No.
wall is going to
No.
go way past the building, the existing dwelling, and it's,
And-
the retaining wall is approximately 12 inches, but
Yes.
you just see there's no definitive where it's going to stop, where it's going to, I mean, it looks like it's going to start, at the back of the pool, but where does it stop on the property?
Okay,
Where
well,
does it stop?
in a
In
red line.
relation to the house, these are things that the board really needs to see in order to make an informed decision as to whether or not to grant you this variance.
Bob, can I just jump a sec? Loretta, do you have the ability to put that on as an exhibit on the screen? And we should introduce that as Exhibit A. You're on mute. Loretta, you're on mute.
Okay, yeah, Dimitri, can you share 11 Goldsmiths?
and also please keep in mind, we, based on the reading, based on the letter that we received from the township engineering that reviewed this, they made the recommendation to have an engineer review it, which we're fine to, to do. But we just needed some direction whether or not, these people have been spending a lot of money trying to get all this stuff done. I'm sure, and speaking for them, that they don't mind paying to have an engineer done. But if you tell us that we can't do this, or there's no way of this work, if I'm not making myself clear or not, if they can do it, then I'm sure there's no issue with hiring an engineer to specify the exact height, as long as we have hope that it could be done. I mean, we don't want to create a problem for anybody,
Right.
but the whole idea of the drawing was to give everybody an idea, which from one letter to the next from the township engineer, he saw where I was going with it and just made the recommendation that an engineer does it. And I agree with that because I am not an engineer.
Right,
I'm
Bob.
I'm a pool guy. So I just gave you rough, I marked everything based on, I triangulated the points based off the new survey and what was given to Dave and Christie when they purchased the home, showing the location of the tanks. I was able to place everything on the survey to kind of give everybody an idea what the plan was. If a licensed engineer has to review it and make any modifications and raise the wall 2 inches, lower it, move it to the left or to the right, but that wall is not on anybody else's property, but their own. I would never, I'm just
Right.
Bob,
Yeah.
that wall won't be past even the 15 feet mark. So if you tell us, okay, you have the 65-foot variance and you have the 15-foot variance, and I could work everything in there, and obviously I would have to get all approvals and engineer and permits, then that's fine. If you tell me you can't go, we'll give you the 15, but you can't go past there. You must be, and you must show proof through an engineer that you are 30 feet away from the septic tank and pits, and you can't go past the 65 feet on the line road. Then I could work within those parameters, and then I will accommodate everything you guys need.
Bob, is this the drawing that you were looking at?
Pardon me?
Bob, is this the drawing that you were looking at?
Yes. And that was specifically what I was going to mention, that if let's say this, you have to decrease the size of the pool. If the board elects to grant this, where you get the 65 feet and the 15 feet, and let's say this 30 feet, then you mean to tell me you would reduce the size of the pool
100%.
to meet the setbacks that you're going to get a variance for?
Without a doubt, 100%.
And I'm sorry to interrupt. Those two red lines that you see there, it's hard to see this on the screen, but those red lines are the proposed setbacks. That's why they go outside of the property lines. The retaining wall is a different, like a different color, but it's literally, it's within, it's right around the pool, a little bit past the house, the retaining wall, how I drew it. It's just hard to see it on this digital setback, digital, drawing of it, like the image. But
Okay.
Those lines, I just stretched them across the property line and then some, so you could see what we're asking for as far as setbacks.
Right, it's not going all across.
It's not going across. That's just showing you the line. Because normally in Holmdel, if I'm not mistaken, on a regular property, you'd never have to be 100 feet. And unfortunately, these people purchased a home not realizing that, it's a peninsula. It's a unique situation.
But Bob, to answer your question, if we have to reduce the pool to fit in those parameters, not even a question, 100%.
Okay, now you also have these a nice water feature here, the waterfalls with the rocks.
No,
It doesn't have to be.
No, but I'm saying these are nice features that we have. I'll be talking about it later on, but with the new stormwater management regulations that just came out, these are the types of things that are very beneficial when you're taking and trying to improve the lots. But Mr. Chairman and members of the board, if you're inclined to approve the setbacks that they've requested, and based on their testimony that they'll do whatever they have to do to make this work 30 feet from the septic system, I really don't have any objection from an engineering standpoint. provided provided that a professional engineer submit a plan that shows that the drainage won't adversely affect the neighboring property, and that the pool fits in within the parameters that are set by the board. So we could,
Let me just ask this of Marty, and please, Dave and Nick, correct me if I'm, and Bob. I think what you're saying is you're seeking to get the variances. And then what the next step, and this would be a condition, I believe, of the approval, that you would have an engineer verify the specifics of the locations of the septic and do an updated drawing showing exactly where the pool's going to be, how the drainage is going to work, and all these other features, and then submit that to the township. And our
Yes.
Bob Bucko, the board engineer, could review that. And
Yes,
that would all be a condition of the approval of the variances.
100%.
yes.
Okay, Marty, is that clear to you? What,
Yes, yeah, we do that. We do that many times. So,
Great.
I mean, in this case, it seems to make sense, obviously. I mean, it's Bob will have to specify. I think he wants an engineering drawing. He doesn't just want the drawing we have confirmed.
Oh, absolutely. That
Without
goes
a
without
doubt.
being said.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to, I'm trying to, because it's expensive to do all these surveys, and I
it
just
is.
drew it for them to, and if we knew we can do it, at least I know if they're going to spend whatever money they spend, that they'll spend it and actually it'll be utilized. That, won't be a waste. So I drew this, I followed, the survey and the elevations and figured out a plan of how to lay it all out for them with examples. And I just threw in like the rock formation, just so you have a overall like drawing. I know it's not a professional, because my drawings are different when I do my work, but as an engineer, just for you to get an idea. So by all means, we're more than happy to get an engineer to do this. And an engineer is readily available for us to do this. So that I work with on a regular basis.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, just one other question. You have here that you're going to do some landscaping. Can you just describe to the board what type of landscaping you propose in this area? Is it going to be, I don't know, just grass? Is it going to be some nice,
It's going to
what
be
I
some,
call wetlands growth? Is it going to be, today they're doing a lot of what they call rainforests, where they have all this wetlands grass. Do you have any idea what type of landscaping, just for the board's
I mean,
information?
we like to keep it as natural as possible with, with grass and some nice shrubs and stuff like that, and maybe some wetland. We didn't get that far until we knew exactly how we could configure the pool, what
Okay.
shape, what size, but it'll be beautiful.
But I just thought if you did, because it is here that, it would be nice for the board would, I'm sure the board would appreciate what type of landscaping you would have in this area. But, you can even put that on the plan if you want, if you know what it is, when it's time to submit the plan.
Okay, that sounds good.
I
That's
have a
fine.
very related question. I mean, the landscaping is shown on the left side of the pool, which is heading over toward Line Road. I would suggest that you want to put some landscaping above the pool where the pool and the neighboring property. Because there's another house beyond that.
Right.
You might want to screen the pool from the other property.
Well, we can definitely put
Are
some
you talking
privacy
about-
trees,
are
the
you
back
talk-
end. The back
Are you
end.
talking about the back? Where
Yeah,
the 15-foot is? Yeah,
That's
that,
already.
there's already full trees and bushes
Bushes, it's
that
all-
is
yeah,
like
beautiful.
6-7 feet high. So
okay.
yeah, it's already there.
All right, just,
I have a question about, you have a fence around the property already, correct?
Yes.
Because I did see it today. But that fence is showing within the 15-foot buffer area. Am I right?
Yes.
So is that an encroachment already?
no,
No,
not with a fence.
yeah,
The fence
Fences
isn't,
don't count for
yeah,
setbacks.
fences aren't subject to setbacks,
Okay.
just property lines.
And so that's going to remain regardless of the retaining
Yes.
wall you're putting in?
So you see the fence and the property line to the neighbor,
Right.
that's behind the fence it's all shrubs, like 6 feet high. I don't know what kind they are, but they're beautiful. And some trees as well.
So how
Right.
effective is the French drain? Because I did notice the fact that your property is running downhill to the house behind you. And that was my first thought, is that you're going to have a water problem. So talk about that a little bit.
Well, there's currently the property seems to be sloping to the left and to the right, more both towards both streets. By elevating it, I would just continue that. Obviously, the water naturally has been going in that direction already.
Yeah.
And it seems to be not creating a problem. I don't know if there's one of the, you can kind of see the topographical survey in the lines. That's existing. I'm actually trying to control some of the water by putting that French drain and moving it all the way towards Line Road and then the other road. Right now, the property is higher up by the house and it slopes back and it goes all the way to the neighboring, the back property. But there's all trees. I mean, there's big distance between the two. So whatever little bit of water, keep in mind that the pool is going to be like 5 feet from that wall. So we're talking about a 5-foot area where that French drain can handle that little bit of water. Everything else is already, we're not changing the grade beyond that. And to the left and to the right, we're going to leave everything the way it is because it's been working forever. We're just going to, whatever we change, I just want to make sure obviously through proper engineering, that whatever water we catch that can't, because the pool is in its way now, will go and follow the original way of the property. We're not adding to it.
Okay.
We're also
Yeah.
taking away, they have a pool there now. There's, 800 to 1,000 square feet of where water's just going to go directly into the pool. So there's less area where water's going to be collecting anyway.
Okay, there's another question that I have, is that you have the deck in the back and you have the brick walkway. So from the brick walkway to the pool, are you gonna have another brick walkway, or are you gonna have?
We're probably gonna take out that brick walkway. That's coming
Right.
out.
But, okay, but are you gonna have any
Yes,
walkway that goes to the pool?
yes.
Okay, so have your engineer show that.
Right, so we're gonna eliminate this brick walkway and then make
Okay.
another one going towards the pool now, because there's no sense of the other one anyway.
Okay, so that's
Yeah,
why. I asked-
that will be in the plan as well.
Right, that's why I asked the question.
Yes, yes.
And the plan should then show what the resulting total coverage is.
Exactly.
Correct.
Yes,
Make sure you don't
yes,
Go over the allowed coverage as well.
yes.
Yes.
Kate, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. So some of these are just clarifications, and I agree with a lot of the, the points that have been made that, that can be subject to engineering review. I just want to just clarify. So, retaining wall, what the 12-inch retaining wall to the rear of the pool. What do you think the extent of that is going to be? Like in terms of like how far is it, I guess my question is, what's the relationship between the retaining wall and the fence? And will the neighbor be able to see the retaining wall? I know it's only a foot high, but I'm just wondering like what that would look like.
The neighbor would not be able to see it because there's 6 feet worth of shrubs going from
Okay.
Line Road to Goldsmith, all the
Okay.
way across. So
The whole back.
the whole back is
Okay.
covered. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I would recommend, also like maybe just for reference, just kind of putting things like that on the engineered plan, to identify each species. But I think it would be helpful if you just have maybe, like a bubble diagram just showing where is existing vegetation.
Oh, okay, great.
So, yeah, we don't need a tree survey or anything. So just looking at, where the pool is going to be, because 65 feet, that's a pretty substantial setback. Obviously variance is required here because this property really is uniquely situated. I think that this is kind of from a place like, this is kind of a hardship. So there's existing trees along Line Road, and those are going to stay.
Everything is there.
Okay.
We will not eliminate one tree. I love my trees.
Yeah, they look beautiful. So, Okay, yeah, I think and the fence that's there now, that's the fence I mean, and I know that the fence has to be pool compliant, obviously, but you're anticipating something similar to what's there now, or that exact
No,
fence?
we just put that.
Oh, okay, I wasn't clear on that. So, okay, so that is your pool compliant fence. Okay,
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
I mean, just you are requesting variance relief, just real quickly, do you foresee the location of this pool having any kind of detrimental effects on your neighbors or it having, negative impacts?
Zero. I mean, zero. I mean, the neighbor, I mean, which we're friends with now, the back property, his house is probably 200, 300, almost 100 yards away from us. And again, with all the brush that divides it, I mean,
Yeah, and then there's like a big piece of land that's just like shrubs. It's their side, but it's
Right.
bushes and like, nothing
Like-
landscape. It's not a landscape piece of
Right.
property.
and there's a lot of trees in between us as well.
Mhm. Right, because I see your neighbor has like a through lot where they have frontage on both.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah, it's some unique setups here. So it's not like, the front of their house might be it's not going to be pool or anything.
No,
that
I think that's
impacts
the
you.
side of their house.
Yeah, yep. So, okay, thanks, Mr. Chairman, I have nothing else.
Any of the other board members have questions or comments for the applicant?
I have one. Is there any known, even though it's just through a patch of land back there, is there any known flooding there? Does water pile up behind in that area of shrubbery?
I mean, since we've been here, there hasn't. And speaking to the neighbor as well, they said they've never had any issues whatsoever.
Okay,
I mean, we just had all this snow melt.
yeah,
and-
well, it's right.
And there's no mud, I mean, it's
Okay.
really solid ground.
But Dimitri, maybe you can remove that exhibit so we can all get back to
We're
you.
done with it. I have one comment. You talked about everything else going on the plans. You didn't mention any patio around the pool itself, any cement work or whatever you're planning to do. So add that to the plans.
Yeah, it's gonna be very minimal.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I see that it's slightly shown on here, 130 feet, because obviously you want to maximize your pool space. But yeah, just try to show, what it's going to be made of, just give
100%.
the
Yeah.
specifics of the material. Mhm.
Because that all adds into the lot
Yeah.
coverage.
Right.
Who's kids?
And just be sure that you stay under the lot coverage, because you don't have a variance for that.
No, we don't
You're
want
not
that.
requesting a variance for that.
No.
Right.
We like the grass.
Good. Any other board members have any questions or comments on this application?
Ralph, as far as I go, the 65-foot setback, I don't see any issue with. He's off-line road. If he had a neighboring property, that would be 25 feet. So I have zero problem with that 65-foot setback. As far as the 15, he does face the neighbor's garage, and looking at the aerial view of the home, it seems like there's more than ample space. So I'm okay with that too. The water issues, I guess the engineering drawings will, dictate that. The impervious coverage, I don't think he's anywhere near it, looking at the size of his land. For me, I'm okay with everything that was presented.
Thank
I
you.
think, the 65-foot issue, and we've run into that almost every time when people have a lot that's on 2 or 3 streets. The setback requirements of our ordinances just don't address this kind of situation. So it's appropriate for us to consider what is appropriate to the specific lot.
Mhm.
Great. Any other board members have any other questions or comments on this?
Are there any easements on the property at all?
No.
None. Okay.
Let's see.
Well, so we forgot to ask at the beginning, just want to make sure with Loretta, the notices are all in order, Loretta, and escrows are fine.
Yes, everything's in order.
Just make sure there's no conflict with anyone, with the applicant. Seeing none. Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
I was about to raise the exact same questions. Okay. All right. In that case, I will, for the board is, neither professionals have any other comments at this time? We'll open it to public comment. First questions and then comments. Does any member of the public wish to ask a question or make a comment about this application? If so, please push the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen. Or if there's one call-in user, you'd have to dial 9. I don't know. Loretta, do you see anything? I don't.
Yeah, I see
No,
no.
I don't see anything. Nobody's raising their hand.
Yeah. Do we have somebody from the township on here?
Carrie is on.
Carrie is on. Okay,
Carrie, do you see anybody? I
No,
don't.
no hands up at this time.
Thank you, Carrie.
good. Okay, thank you. We'll close the public comment period. And any final comments that the applicant would like to make?
Well, thank you. Just thank you for your time. And
Any discussion from the board members?
I have a question. Obviously, you're looking to get this pool in relatively soon, right?
yes, sir.
So the drawings that you have to get from the engineer, he doesn't have to come back in front of the board, right? That he could do this amongst our professionals?
Well, I think what we discussed with Marty earlier, that the if we grant an approval of the variances, it would be subject to their getting an engineer to provide a completed drawing showing all the details, having verified where the septic is, and then that drawing would be reviewed by Bob Bucko, our engineer. So that would be a condition of this approval.
Right, Anthony, we've done that a lot where, right, we don't make them come back. They just deal with the professionals.
I mean, if they require a change to the variance for any reason whatsoever, then they would have to come back to the board.
Yes.
But as long as the engineer can verify that what they're proposing is within the constraints approved by the board, then that would be it from the board's point of view.
Right, okay.
And Anthony, what I would do is they'll have to provide a signature box. So what I would do is sign the plan if it's approved, you know, if it's proper, and then it would go to Ralph and Loretta for them to sign off on it also.
And
So
so all
then
of
you
that
would-
would be done before they would be able to
A
get
permit.
a permit.
Yes, yes.
So that's your check.
I just do have one question. I'm sorry, just to confirm with the engineer, we need to verify the placement of these tanks or just the pool and,
No, you gotta let me know exactly where they're located. And then then you can design your pool according
From there.
from there. And I'm sorry, I'm gonna ask a question just to verify and what we have some drawings that were given to Christy and Dave when they purchased a home. Is that adequate or are you actually requiring
No,
excavation?
I'm gonna need, what, we need excavation. What do you mean?
Exposure of the tank to show it exact.
Well,
And then-
you need to locate it exactly where it's at.
Okay,
A lot of that can be done with a probe.
Yeah. I
okay.
don't think you need to, dig up the whole backyard to find it.
No, that's fine. I just
Okay,
want to,
great.
because in one
Yeah.
other case, we were told to dig it up. That's why I'm
No.
asking.
No, as long as the engineer is
I know.
comfortable with the way that it's been located and he puts it on the plan and he signs off on it, I'm good with that.
Beautiful.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
'cause
you very
don't
much.
wanna build a pool and then find out it's 29 feet from the tank.
Oh, that's far.
Will the Board of Health accept the same analysis, Bob?
I can't speak for them, but I don't see why not.
Yeah, I mean,
If a professional engineer puts his signature on it and seals it, I would think that they would accept that.
so you're going to need that in any case to satisfy the Board of Health's
Yeah.
requirements.
Yes.
So I don't think we've given you anything in addition to have to get done here.
Right. I agree.
Okay. Any other discussion from anyone?
Motion.
Okay, is someone interested in making a motion?
I just said I would motion.
Okay, I didn't catch that. Go ahead.
I'll
And
second.
what is your motion?
I
Valerie?
make a motion that we grant these people their variance so that they can put in their pool as is their right as a Monmouth County resident to have a pool. So subject to all the conditions that we've discussed and the engineering being brought to our engineer for approval. So
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Any discussion on the motion?
One discussion, I didn't hear anybody require an as-built. Are we going to do that?
that's a requirement now.
Yeah, I thought Lonnie said that's now a new ordinance requirement, but
I didn't know if you want to put that in special conditions.
We could, it's a requirement now. You have.
I know, but Marty puts a lot of things in conditions. He could add that one too.
Right, so just so the applicant understands, it's so that everyone makes sure that your things end up where they belong. So later on, when you go to sell or something else, you don't find out 10 years from now that your pool, I know you would never do this, Nick, but that your pool person installed your pool incorrectly or in the wrong place, and now it's in violation of your approval, so.
Which we've had happen before.
Which a lot of people have happened before.
Yep.
Yeah, unfortunately.
They show us the plans like this, and then all of a sudden they come back and say, well, we were off by 10 feet.
No, that's, I mean, in most townships, we require an as-built. Middletown is definite. You know, we do a lot of work in Middletown, same thing, so that's fine. I have standard protocol at this point.
So
Okay.
Valerie, you amend your motion to include that?
I do. I amend my motion to include an as-built after the.
And Anthony, second?
But you bring it up to say.
Okay, any other discussion? Roll call on the motion.
Ms. Savran,
Yes.
Mr. Buffalino,
Yes.
Ms. Campus,
Yes.
Mr. Hearn,
Yes.
Mr. Pesci,
Yes.
Mr. Orphanatopoulos,
Yes.
Mr. Blumenthal.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you and good luck with the project.
Thank you.
so much.
God
Thank
bless you
you.
guys. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Bye-bye now.
Thank you so much for all your help through
Oh,
this.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
We couldn't do it without you.
You were really
Oh.
amazing.
Amazing.
Thank you.
So much. You
Thank
went out of your way. I can't believe
And I
it.
gave you probably 5 headaches.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.
My
Thank you.
daughter,
Bye-bye.
Okay, next,
No.
let's see. Levine's are an attendee, so you can let them in. And do they have professionals with them?
Hold on. Hi, Linda. You gotta unmute. Linda, you're muted.
Yes, Rob, this, Mark Remo did their plan.
Okay,
Okay, so you can let him in also.
okay, thank you, Kerry. I see. I'm asking them to, Linda, you have to unmute.
Look in the top right corner of your box.
At the bottom left.
Sure is.
Bottom left.
Mine's on the right. If you run your cursor over it, the mute box comes up, no?
Yeah, we see you, but we don't hear you.
They
On
might
the
be on-
on the bottom of the box, there's a red microphone with a line through it. You have to unmute that. See it? Okay, he sees it. Let's see.
Mhm.
You have to
Just
click
gotta
on it.
click on
You
Oh,
did
there
it.
you go. You did it.
Oh,
There you go.
There you go. There you go.
Okay, we're on. It's okay. I'm sorry.
No problem.
So welcome Linda and Mark Levine.
Hello.
Hi, how are
wants-
you?
Hi, how are you?
Okay, and Mark Ramo is Mark Ramos, your engineer or planner?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Jerry, you want to announce this item, please?
Yes, this is 3 Lakeview Drive, Linda and Mark Levine, Block 30, lot 24.04 in the R40A zone, zoning board variance number 446. Applicant seeks variance relief to install a fiberglass swimming pool and surrounding patio, increasing the lot coverage to 31.3% where 25% is permitted.
Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Levine, would you please like to present your application to the board?
So Ralph, let's just start, so with Loretta, just to make sure
Yes.
notices are good, Loretta, and escrows.
Yes, everything's in order.
Okay, any board member know of any conflict with the applicant or vice versa? Okay, seeing none, I'm sorry. So we can swear in the Levines and Mr. Remo at the same time. If they raise their right hand, they'll swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes, I do.
I
Okay.
do.
Okay.
So,
Then, okay, you want to go ahead and introduce your application to the board?
Okay, this is Mark. Do you want Mark Remo to do it, or we can do it?
Your choice.
Okay,
start.
this is, I'm Mark Levine. This is my wife, Linda Levine. We've lived in Holmdel for 20 years
In the house,
in this house, and we've decided that we want to install a pool with a surrounding patio. So we're seeking a variance.
We bought the house at already the 25%. So we didn't know it at the time when we bought the house, but that's what was, so we want to get a pool now, and you know, we just want it for enjoyment, and we, you know, being with the COVID, we can't go any place and can't go anywhere, and high risk. So my husband is high risk, and we cannot really go anywhere. So we decided we'll have enjoyment and have a pool. And that's basically, we didn't do anything, improvements until now, until we realized, you know, that we want to have a.
Yeah. Just if I may ask you, the plan we submitted indicated that the current lot coverage is 28.8%, which
Yes.
exceeds the 25% that the ordinance permits. How did that come about, and did you ever get a variance for that?
Okay, what transpired in 2001, we had the house built. The builder, told us at the time of closing,
Kelly Builder.
Kelly Builders, that there was a problem with the coverage, and that he was at 25% exactly when he completed the driveway and the house.
He underestimated.
He underestimated the
land
coverage.
and the coverage.
We were supposed to have in the contract, we had him to put in some cement patios. He told us he could not do it. And he suggested to us to put some pavers down so we'd have some access out the backyards. We contracted a local paver person, Holmdel Farms, and they put some pavers in at the time.
That was that.
Did you get a permit for the pavers?
No, we did
No,
not.
we didn't know. It was the pervious pavers, and we didn't have anything. We didn't get the concrete, so we just figured, you know, we get something for the time being, but the pavers are on the sand, you know, so.
Was Kelly the developer of the subdivision?
Yes.
Yes. He was the one with the big hat, you know, I don't know, you know.
Well, this is going way back. I'm aware that there were problems with the subdivision. Is meeting the requirements of the township with regard to street and drainage and et cetera.
Mhm.
There was flooding in the street for a while.
Yeah, that's why he put the pipes underneath the driveways and out to the pond, all million pipes underground, because he had a problem, and the elevation of the land, he didn't realize it was going to be like that. He said, well, you know, he didn't want to have anything to do with it. So he said, well, look, just go to closing, and that's it. So it was horrible.
Hmm.
It was terrible, but We had no,
But the drainage is okay now.
but the drainage is great. You know, we don't have any problems and we have a lot of property and all our neighbors, you know, have big structures and big pools. But it just so happens that our house probably has the best property and layout and
Well, the
we
house,
don't have
the
anything.
house itself is more like a ranch house
yeah.
with a loft area upstairs with a very large driveway.
Yeah.
So you testified that when they finished and you went to closing, you were at 25%. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
So according to what I see on these plans, it says that you are presently at 28.8%.
Yes.
Yes.
So how did you go over?
That was the patio, the pavers we put in
Pavers.
at the time of closing.
So obviously, if you would have went for a permit, you would have found out that you would have been over if you added the patio.
Well, I think the builder had told us that we were at 25%. And I said, what do? We wanted some cement work done. He said, he told us to put some pavers down. It shouldn't be a problem.
Well, you're over because of that. And now
Yes.
we're going to go even further over.
Yes.
Right. It's not, I mean, you know, we didn't know. We bought a house for pleasure and entertainment and on the taxes of $25,000. We didn't buy a house to, you know, not live in it. And being the situation with COVID and everything, you know, everyone's by their house, you know, we all stay home. No one goes anywhere.
You were having paver work done today because I did drop by to take a look. What were they actually doing then?
Oh, from the sunroom, they were fixing the sunroom because we had a permit for the sunroom.
Right.
And they were fixing the pavers that they took out, putting back in.
To walk out of the
To
sunroom.
walk out of the sunroom.
So it wasn't an expansion of your existing patio there?
No,
No.
no, no, no.
They took the pavers out to
They
put the
took them
sunroom
out.
there.
Yeah, I mean, this plan lists the pavers as being 1,340 square feet. That alone is not enough to take you to 28A. So, all right. Why don't we go ahead and Levines, would you like Mr. Ramo to say a little more about this application?
Yes.
So, Mr. Ramo, would you like to introduce yourself and your credentials, please?
Yeah, sure. My name is Mark Remo. My company is Remo Engineering. I'm a licensed professional engineer in New Jersey, New York, several other states, and also Washington, D.C. I'm also a licensed professional planner in New Jersey and a certified municipal engineer. I have about 35 years experience in all aspects of site plan and subdivision design. And I've provided professional engineering and professional planning testimony at numerous boards throughout the state. So basically, you know, the property being developed obviously is lot 24.04 in block 30, known as 3 Lakeview Drive. The area of the property is about 43,458 square feet, which is about 1 acre. And the applicant's proposing to install an in-ground pool. The allowable impervious coverage is 25%. Their existing is 28.8% currently. So by putting the pool in along with the pavers, they're increasing it to 31.3%, which is about 2.5% increase. However, if you take away the actual pool area and just include the pavers, it's about 1.2% increase in impervious coverage, which is very minimal, you know, as an increase compared to the overall property. So I don't foresee any, you know, issues with the increased impervious coverage, and through their testimony, obviously they were over to begin with. So the increase of 1.2% technically is quite minimal, if you don't include the actual pool surface area.
Well, Mr. Chairman, you
Go
have
ahead, Bob.
you have to include that as impervious coverage.
Right.
Because even though it's water, and the issues that you know that I have were you know, how is this the grading around the pool, the increased impervious coverage. I don't know if you're aware and the board's aware that there are some new stormwater management rules that DEP has starting to enforce as of March 2nd, which are usually for major subdivisions and major site plans. But in this case, the board may want to consider that if there's only 25% allowed and they're going up to the 30, that that additional 5% that they provide some stormwater, infiltration type of devices. An example would be like a rain garden or some natural swales that would closely resemble the natural water cycles that are in that area and around the pool. So that's basically what I would have, the board to consider. Not saying that the pool, you could probably reduce the size of the pool to reduce the lot coverage.
Right.
I'm not suggesting that, but that is an option. But again, the grading, I just don't want to. I just want to make sure that it will not adversely affect the neighboring properties. And if it does, then I would like to see some French, like again, some nice water features as opposed to just, let's put in a seepage pit and let it all go in there and then percolate into the ground.
Yeah. Well, not to interrupt, but one thing we're very conscious of is any water or anything on anyone's property, because I wouldn't want it on mine. So I wouldn't have any water go on anybody else's. That's 100% correct what you're saying, that we're very, we're crazy like that. You don't want it on yours and you wouldn't want to do it to anybody else. So that would be for sure with getting any pool, you have to make sure, but we're very dry. The land over, is all dry, but we don't have hills, but I mean, we still have to make sure, and I know the engineer, would know, he would make sure that it's A-okay. And the
Lorraine,
pool.
would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a little bit harder through a Zoom meeting to be able to talk to my client, but I think they would be agreeable to providing some type of stormwater management to mitigate the increasing impervious coverage through either a rain garden or some type of seepage pit. Maybe run some of the roof runoff actually into a seepage pit, and let the pool runoff continue to go where it's going. But obviously collect some of the roof runoff. That might be an option too. And we could work with the engineer to come up with a solution.
Yeah, I mean, when that go ahead.
I think Mr. Remo is right. There's different ways that we can address the additional runoff, and again, it's just something for the board to consider on all these future applications that come in for lot coverage, that instead of the standard mechanical ways of addressing the additional runoff from the lot coverage, is that they can put some nice landscape features to try and address what the state is doing with these new stormwater management rules.
Yeah, we're fine with
Yeah.
putting additional landscaping in.
Right, yeah, and big trees like that, right, would be on basically all in the back. We have big pine trees.
We have 30-foot trees. throughout the
30-foot
back.
trees, and then we also have trees in the middle. So I'm saying we probably have a lot of trees.
Yeah, but we have plenty of landscaping.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
It's really-
Hey,
Just
Bob?
very quickly, sorry, Dimitri.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that, that I think that landscaping is great. It provides a screening for you. I'm Kate Keller. I'm the board planner. screening for you, and it gives privacy. And I think that these type of green infrastructure, which it's like a kind of, it's your engineer will be able to help you with this, but it's a fancy name for some features that I think will complement your property, and addition to compensating for any potential changes. That result in the the increase in the coverage, because I understand that's a tough situation when you buy the house, and you're getting advice that might not be correct, and like you're stuck with regards to this coverage situation. I just have a question for Bob Bucco, actually. Is there any kind of provision regarding? I mean, I know that these pavers are down, and I imagine for the pool you're proposing more of a the pool patio won't be like a pervious paver service. It'll be a more traditional kind of paver.
Could make it pervious, whatever. Doesn't make a difference.
Is there any, does the township ordinance have any kind of distinction for that type of paver, or does it all just count as impervious surface?
No, it's all impervious.
Okay.
Yeah, most towns have gone to that, where, now when they do these brick pavers where they used to be pervious, they're now finding that contractors put a layer of cement and then the ash, so there's no like differential settling anymore. So they've adopted ordinances that now that they're all impervious, most of them, at least in the towns that are my clients. I do know that the brick pavers are considered impervious now.
Yeah, and that won't correct for anything else, but just we can't be sure about how they were installed in this case. But do you foresee any negative impacts on properties in your neighborhood or anything, whether it's stormwater impact or anything like that?
No, the house grading all slopes down, which is towards the pond, which is to the bottom right. It's almost adjacent to our property as well. And beyond that, there's 5 acres of unfinished land.
Right. So, okay.
So
I have nothing further for me. Thanks.
Yeah, I would second the suggestion for Mr. Bucco. I mean, when the street was first built, there were significant drainage problems here. And what the cul-de-sac here is the low end of the street, which comes up during Line Road, and to the left of the drawing, there is on that next lot is a pond, and that drains out to the Mahinkson Creek. And you'll see what's unusual here. The first 30 feet is shown on the plan is a drainage easement, because there are drainage structures and drainage swales in that area.
Yes.
And the whole property slopes down to it. So the natural water flow is from the top of the property down to the street.
Exactly right.
Yeah, so that if you create a flattish area on the far left where they're proposing the pool, you want to make sure that the grading of that is such as to not negatively impact the water flow and the runoff.
Right.
And so that, in fact, if I read this correctly, to the left there is an inlet on your property.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. The bottom left by the street.
The bottom left by the street is an inlet. If you go diagonally up left from that further, there's a small circle. Is that an inlet?
Let me take a look at it.
I don't think so. I mean,
Wait,
I know that the township put these big drains.
I think I know what it is.
He said, my husband say might know what it is, but.
Are you talking about
Yeah, it's the 4-inch
the
pipe.
property next to us?
I could put it on the screen.
Yeah, when the builder built the property, the house next to us had very little room for their driveway entrance. So they were allowed, I think, 1 foot allowance of our property for their driveway.
Right.
I don't know if that's what you're referring to.
No.
Yeah, no, I mean, on your property, there's a couple of small rectangles at the lower left. And going out from it downward to the left, it says 12-inch RCP. That's a 12-inch reinforced concrete pipe, which is heading toward the pond. And to the right of that, it says 18-inch RCP, which is a
There's a,
concrete
like
pipe. It's
a-
all part of a drainage system.
that's the drainage.
Right,
That's the
those are
drainage
the
system
drainage,
that
yes.
hooks up to the sewer line that runs into the pond.
Yes, because we have sewers.
And we
don't-
we decorated with landscaping and stones around it.
Yes,
Yeah,
Yeah, and now going up and to the left from that little square box is a dotted line, which says 4-inch HDPE.
Goes all the way up. Hey, Ralph, I could put it on the screen if you want me to share.
Yeah, okay, but
yeah.
But-
the implication.
Mr. Chairman, maybe Mr. Remo can shed some light on that since he put the plan together.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but I would suspect that's probably a seepage pit.
Yeah,
And then there's a
That's-
4-inch pipe that goes to the inlet.
right.
That's what I assumed.
Yeah,
That's more or less an overflow pipe
That's
that
correct.
when the seepage pit fills up, that the excess water then goes down that 4-inch pipe into the drainage system.
Right.
Right.
That's what I believe it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
and I agree with that.
So I think what you need to do when you look at the grading for the pool and potentially putting a little bit of a swale or rain garden or something there to make sure that that's consistent with those other drainage structures.
Yeah, what we had done, I think, a few years ago, we had put a drain in to the left side because it was getting a little wet, and that drain ran into that seepage pit.
Right, it ran into the.
We did
seepage
that,
pit.
and we
That's
did
right.
one on the other side of the house to keep it from getting too wet, and we ran that into the other side.
Right. 'Cause
That
we-
was done years ago
Yes, yeah.
by a landscaper.
But it was good because at least there was no water ever, because it's,
We're very careful with any
Careful about
excess water on the property.
Hey, Bob, I have a question. Being that we're doing 6% over the 25% here, and you mentioned earlier about the water from the gutters and the roof, what were you proposing with that? Were you proposing to bring it into to that side, to that left side? All the roof water?
Yeah, well, no, I wasn't suggesting that at all. What I was suggesting was that with the increased lot coverage, that they mitigate that, in a more natural way, as opposed to just a mechanical, let's put a seepage pit in like we just had a discussion on.
Right.
Make it more of a natural way of controlling the water, and it helps out the water quality too.
Yeah, we're fine with that.
Right, we're
And
fine.
and it just works better. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
and I think it'll enhance the aesthetics in the backyard of your pool, and you'll have
Yeah.
some nice
Uh-huh.
plantings and things
Right.
of that nature.
So
That's why-
are we going to require the engineer, Mr. Remo, to redo the plans showing us where all these areas are going to be and which way the water flow is going to go?
Yeah, yes. I mean,
I
he's got,
think-
look, he has an excellent plan here.
I mean, he
So
did it.
I think just a few modifications to it from the comments we made. I know they're gonna have to remove a large tree, a significant tree. Maybe we could find a way to replant a tree on the property. So, I mean, I know that the boards today are real sensitive about removing healthy,
Yeah.
large,
I remember,
trees.
right, because the guy that, I don't know his name, but he was the head of the tree commission. And he's so nice. He gave us, he brought trees in and he, from the tree commission, I don't know his name, but I saw him the other day. And he was saying, we want to make sure we keep our trees. He gave us beautiful trees for the property.
And
Beautiful.
well, the builder, when it was the old farm, and when we were the first people to move in. When he had like many trees, which he had to replant, and he planted them, some of them around our property. They were nice trees.
Very nice
Okay.
person. His name.
Yeah, I'm sure I can work with Mr. Remo and we will come up with a a plan that is satisfactory to the board.
Okay, so Marty, you're gonna put that in the resolution,
Yeah.
special conditions?
They'd have to resubmit to Bob Bucko's approval again, just like the last applicant.
Okay.
Right. I mean, and one thing that can be considered is that if you only look at the coverage of the pool, there's limited what you can do. But if you consider that the total coverage of the whole house, if there are some gutters draining in a way that might negatively impact things, or to redirect them, you've got a lot more surface area of impervious to address. And to the extent that you can ameliorate the total situation and make for a more attractive landscape, that's a plus for everybody.
Yeah,
Yes.
I agree, Ralph, because we're going from 25 to 31, so that's 6% more. So I would like to see some mitigation with the roof water too.
So I think what we're saying is we leave it to the applicant and their engineer to come up with a finalized plan which shows how they're going to deal with the stormwater a little more detail. And that plan would be then submitted to the board engineer, Mr. Bucko, for his review and approval. It would not need to come back to the board.
Right, okay, because we really want to do it right away. The warm weather's going to come and there's no place to go. So
Sure.
we'd like to get it done ASAP.
And then also, again, we mentioned on the previous application, the town now requires, once all the work is done, that you submit a final as-built plan to make sure that it's consistent with what was approved.
Right.
And that would be Mr. Remo doing all of that.
Well, who does exactly which piece of the effort, that's their responsibility.
Well, I just assume it because he did these plans.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was, at
Are-
the house many days doing them too. He worked hard.
So, do you understand that, Mr. Ramo? Do you have any questions about what we're asking for?
No, no questions. It's understood.
Okay, do any of the other board members have any questions for this applicant? Kate, do you have any questions here?
No, nothing from me. Thank you.
I just noticed when I was there today that the property rises very high in the back.
Yes.
Is that an environmental easement that you have there, or is that just your normal property line?
Normal property,
It is, okay.
normal property. Right, that was the way the property was built, but we don't have any water problems, nothing. Not a water problem at all. God forbid.
I mean, when the street was first put in, there were water problems.
Yes.
And they put in these giant drainage
Yeah.
pipes.
Big,
Right.
big, yeah. We went through a lot in the beginning because it was almost 21 years ago. It was a long time. And we finally, want to get a pool, so.
And there was problems at both ends of the street. At the head end where it joins the Line Road, the grading of Line Road was such that all the water running down Line Road then turned around the corner and came down this street.
Yes,
Yes.
we see it. We
Do
see
you
it.
live near there? Do you live near a line?
No, but
Oh,
By the
Yeah.
way, the pond has been very dry.
yeah, I don't know what
The
happened.
pond's been dry for a long time.
well, it was an artificial farm pond.
Oh,
And there was it's created by a little bit of a dam. I don't know what the condition of that dam is now.
oh,
When we first moved in, there was water in the pond, but
Yeah.
it's been
Oh,
dry.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know why, what happened.
Okay, any other questions or comments from any of the board members? Okay, at this time, I think then we'll open it to the public to see if any members of the public have any questions or comments about this application. If you're listening in and would like to make a question or ask a comment, please click the raise hand button and we can recognize you. And if you're calling in you please have to dial 9 to get the signal so we can see that you're wishing to make a question, raise a question or make a comment. I do see one hand that's raised from Tony Chang. Kerry, could you let Mr. Chang in so that we can talk with Mr. Chang? Mr. Chang, can you turn on your audio and video?
Yes. Hello, board members. I'm also a resident of Holmdel, and I'm representing also another resident of Holmdel who lives on 2 Tullis Drive, the Eng family.
But first, would you please identify yourself by giving your name and address for the record?
Tony Chang at 4 White Rock Terrace, Holmdel, New Jersey. Representing.
A question, or do you want to make a comment?
Make a comment and a question.
Okay, well then, Marty.
Yep. So let's swear you in, Mr. Chang. Do you swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. I swear.
And just before you start, since you already mentioned it, I mean, unless you're their attorney, you really can't be representing another applicant, another homeowner. I mean, you can give a general comment, but technically, if they're not on, it's up to the board. They can make some leeway here, but technically, you're really speaking for yourself.
Yeah, they're on also, if you would like to let them in.
Okay, they can concur once you're.
Well, then we'll take one at a time.
Right, okay. The only reason why I'm on just to verify to the water situation, because the Eng family who lives right behind in their backyard, when they were putting their pool in and construction on their home in 2007, there was a great concern about water runoff and drainage. So there's an extensive water drainage system that was put in the back if you look at other plans adjoining the property. We are concerned that any excavation or any excess coverage on the property may affect that water management plan, either degrade it or compromise it. So I just wanted to raise that issue because of the drainage of the steeping, the pitch that goes down their property.
Now, you said you lived on White Rock Terrace?
Yes, but I'm speaking on behalf of the homeowner on 2 Tullis Drive.
Right, I'm sorry, this is being a semi-judicial proceeding, and as the attorney indicated, we can't have one person represent someone who's not there, because you have to be sworn in and be able to be cross-examined.
Well,
So,
he is available if you want him to speak.
well, we'll take them one at a time. So please make whatever questions or comments you have, and then we'll go on to the next person.
So the question I have is the plan done by Mr. Remo, was it taking into consideration the water runoff from adjoining properties that may or may not come onto their property?
Mr. Remo.
No.
Well,
Tullis Drive is uphill from our property, so obviously our property would not affect the drainage on Tullis Road. The grading plan is such that we kind of match where the existing runoff is going now. We're not really changing the direction of the runoff. It's still going in the general direction towards, adjacent lot 2403. But Tullis Drive is uphill, so it doesn't affect anything on Tullis Drive.
So any of the water management drainage is not going to pitch it back into, it's going to be going down to the street area. Is that fair to assume?
Yes, it's going down towards the street and to adjacent lot 24.03, which is downhill from Tullis Drive. Tullis Drive is much higher than Lakeview Drive.
Okay, I think that's fine. That's the only question I had. Just wanted to make sure that the water management will not affect any of the systems that are in place already.
No.
Thank you, Mr. Chang.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else in the public who would like to speak or ask a question or make a comment? If so, please raise your hand or dial 9. I don't know the name or whatever of the person Mr. Chang was referring to who lives on Tolas.
Mr.
That's Mr. Eng.
Mr. Ang, there's no name of that
ENG.
sort in the attendee list.
Those are the homeowners on Tolis Drive he was referring to.
They live.
They live behind us.
Okay, but yeah, 'cause
Up
there's
the
only
hill.
Up the hill.
there is a call-in user, one with no name, there's no name. And other than that, there's a George M. But nobody has their hands. I'm not seeing any hands up. Carrie, do you see any hands up?
There are no hands up at this time.
Okay. See if there are none, then we'll close the public hearing and the opportunity for public to speak on this application. Come back to the applicant and the Levines and Mr. Ramo. Do you have any final summary comments that you would like to make about this application?
I don't have any comments.
So
In that case, we'll close the public hearing. The board members have any discussion or consideration?
So, Mr. Chair, my suggestion is, if this is going to be acted on favorably, we amend the application, actually have two variances, one for the existing lot coverage, which was previously done, and then that takes us from 25 to 28.8, and then we do a second variance for the increase, the current increase of the new features that we're actually approving today.
Okay. Any questions about that? Any other discussion from anyone on the board members or our professionals?
I have no more comment, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Is someone like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
And subject to the conditions that Mr. Flager suggested?
Yes, I guess we're gonna do two separate variances. One is a variance for the original pavers, right? That's the first variance?
Correct.
To grant a variance for the lot coverage for the paver patio.
All right, that takes us to 28.8%.
And then I'll make a second motion that we grant the variance to allow the installation of the pool as per the submitted plans from the applicant, subject to the approval of our engineer and satisfaction of the drainage issues that have been raised during this hearing to our engineer's satisfaction, and the stormwater management issues raised to our engineer's satisfaction, and also submitting a as-built after the completed project.
Okay. One thing I would suggest in terms of the first one, to getting the 28.8, I think we shouldn't enumerate that it's the paver area, because if I do the quick arithmetic, I suspect part of the increased coverage is actually due to the asphalt driveway area.
yes,
There's many more square feet, so.
All right, so I'll just amend it to say,
To allow the 28.8.
well, it's weird then that we're splitting it up then, isn't it?
Is it one motion for both? Is it one motion for both?
Well, I made two because at Marty's suggestion, we were doing one for the former lot coverage, but I'm not actually sure anymore why we're doing that then.
Wait, I have a question. Marty, is there going to be two resolutions for this, one for each?
That's what I'm getting at.
Just like anybody else has multiple variance requests, we do one motion, one that approves everything. It's just, it's gonna reiterate, there's two separate variances. And it's just a suggestion, only because they have current features that the pool really is a separate variance. It's from what they currently have to go over to a higher number. So, but it's one motion
Right.
all these conditions will apply to the motion, which includes both features. So, if we need a new breakdown of all the impervious, that's part of the plan that's going to be resubmitted with the drainage features to Bob Bucko's satisfaction. I would include that all as one condition.
One. Right. So is there a second to the motion then?
I'll second.
Anthony?
Yeah. Okay, is there any, so is it clear there's one motion to approve two variances, one to cover the existing 28.8%, however they got there and whatever the history is. And then a second one to permit the pool and its increased coverage. And together with that, the engineer will provide an updated grading plan to show how the additional coverage will be mitigated with some green infrastructure. And then there'll be and to be reviewed and approved by Mr. Bucko, the board engineer, and then after, at the completion, a submission of an as-built drawing showing what actually exists.
And a more detailed breakdown of how we get to the impervious total.
Are we going to put some of that roof water too included in that?
Well, he has to do the engineering yet on how he exactly wants to handle it. And then Mr. Bucko has to review it.
All right.
So my motion included whatever stormwater management issues that were necessary to satisfy Bob. Dimitri, that was part of my motion.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to try to engineer it here tonight.
No, I'm just
here to work it out.
I'm just suggesting that roof water be included, because if they would have came in here with the pavers, we would have looked for some way to mitigate some of the water at that time. So now we're trying to make up for both situations.
Right. And I also just mentioned the roof because there's a much greater area there.
I know.
There's more opportunity it makes it easy to do something.
I agree.
The lot coverage is really not that extensive here, the overage. I'm really not that concerned about, a lot of stormwater management issues with such a minimal lot coverage exception.
Well,
the pavers
We're not at
counted
50% here. We're a little over 30%.
Yeah, but I'm concerned because I know this street had flooding issues.
Right.
All right, well,
And we don't
everybody's
want
on
to
top of
exasperate
it. I
it.
just don't think we want to get over the top about it. It's covered, right? It's enough.
Are the pavers counted at 50% or 100%?
In the rear yard,
They're supposed to be 50, right?
50%.
Yeah.
in the rear yard. Not the front yard.
Yeah.
We can't, not the
Pavers
asphalt,
count
not the
100.
front yard, right.
No, but
The front
is
yard
it
pavers count.
Okay, we've had a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion on this motion?
I'm going to do a roll call.
Roll
Ms.
call.
Agron,
Yes.
Mr. Buffalino,
Yes.
Ms. Campus,
Yes.
Mr. Hearn,
Yes.
Mr. Pesci,
Yes.
Mr. Opatatopoulos,
Yes.
and Mr. Blumenthal.
Yes.
Okay.
Congratulations. Thank you for addressing the board and good luck with the
Congratulations.
project.
Thank you, Loretta, so much.
You're
I
welcome.
love you. Thank you so much, everybody.
You're welcome.
Okay,
Thank
good
you.
luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night,
Good night.
everybody.
Thank
Thank you very
I know.
Loretta, you're getting all the credit you deserve tonight.
Oh, my goodness.
The Loretta Love Fest.
Okay, I'm gonna let in the last.
Okay, let's see, we have Beeland. I know they were in the attendee list.
I just let them in.
Put them in,
Rob?
okay. Beeland, would you unmute yourself and turn on your camera, please? Aha, hi there.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, Jerry, you want to read the item that we're about to begin?
Item number 326 Bayberry Drive, Robert and Philomena Bylan, block 58.02, Lot 28 in the RTH 1 zone. ZB variance number 448. Applicant seeks variance relief for a built-in pool, increasing lot coverage from 30.3 to 36.3%.
Okay, Mr. Beelen, am I pronouncing that correct?
Yes, sir, Beelen.
Beelen. Okay, do you have any professionals with you tonight?
No, just my wife.
Okay. It's often that somebody has an engineer or an attorney, but okay. Then would you like to present your request?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about the project, what you're trying to do, and what the issues are.
Let me just interrupt quick. So Loretta, everything in order, notices and escrows?
Yes, everything is in order.
Any known conflicts with the board or the applicant? Being none, Mr. Beelen, I'm just going to swear you in, and if your wife's going to speak also, we'll swear both of you in. Just raise your right hand. You swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
You're on.
Okay, so good evening. Thanks for fitting us in. Just want to thank you all for fitting us in. And I know you're going to say there's a love fest, but Bonnie and Loretta, they really, I can't say enough great things about them. Especially Loretta really like held my hand through this whole process, which was a little unnerving at times. But she got us through it, and I can't thank you enough for your time and efforts on all that. So with that being said, our hardship is that our house covers more than what we're allotted. So our house is 30.3, and we're looking for, like was stated earlier, with the pool would be 36.3. So we're requesting a variance for the relief of it. Even if we kind of removed a portion of our home, I still think that we would be over what we were. We're in the Meadowwood Estates, for anybody who doesn't know, and there are built-in pools in our area. But from what I've learned since doing this whole process is that when these buildings were being built, they were building bigger houses on smaller properties. And that's kind of, I mean, we didn't know about that when we were buying the property. But with that being said, that's kind of how I believe we came to this part. When we were looking for houses, we just moved here about 1.5 years ago from up north. And when we were looking for houses, we looked all over this town, beautiful town, but we wanted something with a little bit more of a city feel, which was this little neighborhood community. And the first 2 houses that we looked at happened to be on Bayberry with built-in pools. And then we found the house that we've purchased, and it did not have a built-in pool. So we were under the impression that since pools were, we could still save more money, and then we could put the pool in because we've been saving to make our way down here for our kids. So, there's a lot more that I could say pretty much about it, but the pool is definitely something that we dreamed about when we lived up north, to someday have all this land that we have now, which is 3 times, 4 times the size of what we were raised in. And the dream was to put the pool in for the kids, and we're finally at that point tonight. So
Not realizing what Holmdel's coverage was at the time, because we are still considered very new to the area. Unfortunately, nobody ever filled us in on that part, so.
Right.
Yeah, well, every property and every situation can be unique. So let me come back to one thing you said, that the existing 30.3, do you have any idea how that came about and whether a variance was ever granted for that?
From the previous owners, we really didn't have that much communication with them. I mean, it was tough even communicating with them when we were trying to look at the house with the realtor.
And there's, to your knowledge, is there anything in the deed about it? Because variances, when granted, go with the property. And it's not just for your lifetime, but it goes with the life of the house.
Yeah, we pretty much, when we came here, everything was pretty much, it looked like the previous owners. I believe they might have been the second owners, but I believe that when the previous owners kind of didn't do much to the house, it was, you could just kind of tell that they didn't do a lot to the house. The only thing that was in the yard when we moved here was a big old shed in the back of the yard, an old huge wooden shed. It looks like it had been here since the inception, and we removed that.
There's nothing on the property.
Yeah.
There's nothing on the property.
Yeah.
Were the two patios there?
Yes.
So it's conceivable one of the patios was built after the
So
house.
the one patio, there was one patio that was there when we came here, and they had like some kind of garden or something, and then there was pavers on the other side, and then they were removed when we were closing on the house. So that became like a grassy area again, and then I put the concrete over there as well for my, just for the family, so we could be out there.
Okay, it could be what led to the 30.3.
Yeah, because if you look at the survey from when they bought the property, it showed the garden and it shows the concrete patio that's on the, if you're looking straight on, it's to the left, but the pool plot shows two patios. So I guess what you're saying is that when you purchased the house, that was pavers, but it wasn't shown on the survey, or they pulled it up before this survey was complete, and so you thought you could go over it?
Yes, I think that they pulled the pavers up previously to that, and we just kind of filled in that kind of messed up piece of land with concrete for more family space.
Yeah.
Okay, so the survey kind of captures like a brief moment in time where there was previously pavers, and that, okay, I got it. Okay, understood. Thank you.
Hey, Kate, I'm
Yes.
looking at a Google view of the property, and on the Google view, it does not show two patios, it only shows one.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Unfortunately, with Google, you don't get a date, so you.
Yeah, you can sometimes get it if you look on Google Earth. Yeah, when did you move in? Just out of curiosity, Mr. Beelan?
We moved in, like, I would say officially like July 1st, towards the end of June of about 2 years ago.
So 2019. Okay, yeah, that's what. Just double checking. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that at this point, if there was an official variance recorded, which I didn't see anything, and it sounds like nothing was found by the zoning office or anything. I think that we just want to look at what you're proposing tonight and how we can mitigate that.
Thank you.
Concerns.
Right, because we noticed the same thing, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Bob.
I was going to say, we noticed the same thing in our review, that the survey and the plot plan, they just didn't match. So I have a few questions also. That's what I'd like to see a coverage breakdown on the plan that their engineer prepared, and I'd also like to see a zoning table. I don't know if they're going to be if there's going to be any setback violations with the pool from the side yards and the rear yards. There's no indication on the plan that they've met those requirements. And the grading is, and again, the grading is very close to the two adjacent property owners. So again, having the previous application, the overage should be mitigated by some sort of natural feature, as opposed to just under drains and dry wells. My other concern is the backwash, where the pool equipment is where are they going to discharge the backwash water? Is it going to go out to the front? What are they doing with that? How are they controlling that? If they could answer those types of questions, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. So, Mr. Bucco, when the engineer from the pool company came here and engineered it, I know that he went up to City Hall to get all the setbacks off the property lines. We were very adamant about that, just because we know. So the house immediately to if you're facing our house, the house immediately to our left, that house is about 32 feet away, and the house to our right, which is on a pad, a concrete pad, they're about 33, 34 feet away as well. This house would be I'm just, let's see, probably about guesstimating 55, 60 feet to the back fence. And that would be off the back fence, roughly, whatever the city represented the offsets had to be. Behind our house is a farm. I don't know if you're all familiar, but it's like some kind of swampy thing or a farm, and then it leads to 35. So to answer your question, when the pool or the filter, it would be towards the back of the property, towards the Route 35 part where the farm is. It wouldn't be in the front.
Well, let's try to take it one step at a time. Bob asked a variety of questions. For this zone on this property, what are the required side and rear yard setbacks?
I can answer that. It's 10 feet is required for each, so they do comply.
Okay, so what's on the proposal complies with the setback requirement?
Yes, for accessory uses in the RTH zone. So they
potentially for the shed.
The shed, yes, I was going to raise that, and
That's,
the shed is also within 10 feet of the property line. Is there any potential that you could move that shed into a location where it's, conforming, or otherwise, I think they might have to request another variance for that tonight.
Yeah. So yeah, that was that's not a problem. That's not a permanent structure at all. It's like one of those Rubbermaid sheds that somebody bought us as a moving in, and we just kind of put it over there to put the new furniture in for the winter. But yeah, that's not an issue at all.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that would also have to be set back 10 feet from the property line, which you can measure from this. And I would pose this to the applicant and also to the board. I mean, we don't have the breakdown of the patio area, of the impervious coverage here, but would you consider, since you are proposing a new pool area with decking, would you consider removing a portion or a portion thereof of one of the concrete patios or some part of that area?
How much would need to really be removed?
We don't know that without the breakdown.
right, that's the issue.
Did your pool guy or did your professional provide you, where did you get the 36% number from?
Right, that's exactly,
So
do you have that?
No, well, what happened was when the pool guy went for the permits originally to do the pool, he called me and said that you're 30.3 and the pool would be 36.3, you're over it. That's what the city had told him, and that's the number that we've been going with.
Is that just the pool, or is that the pool with the concrete around it?
I believe, well, it was funny because we didn't want, whatever the pool comes with that area, I think 3 feet of concrete, we just wanted that because we like the grass area for soccer for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you're showing, I'll just say, if you're looking at the house on the right-hand side, it's significantly wider than 3 feet.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's showing the 6-foot patio.
Right.
You mean around the pool, sir?
Yes.
The right side of the pool.
The right side, that's not 3. That might have been a drawing on there. That was not a recommended or requested thing by any stretch of the imagination for us. We were under the impression everything is 3 feet around, and that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
The only thing we changed was the bullnose on the pool to make it rounder.
Okay, well, those are the things that that's why I requested that you provide a lot coverage breakdown. And we wouldn't have known that if we didn't have this discussion. So
what
we need to get
for is a resubmission of this document with a chain table right on the drawing.
Yes.
So
exactly.
Calculate the coverage.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. And this plan was prepared by a professional engineer who has
Correct.
the ability to do that very easily.
Yes.
And I think that if that's provided, it'll tell us, it'll break. We'd like what it usually looks like is that it'll break it down by showing like what the square footage of the driveway is, what the square footage of each patio is. And I think that, especially if you're saying that this isn't showing correctly what the pool you're proposing, it's hard to envision and it's hard to know what that 36% looks like without the breakdown. So once you have that, Bob and I would be able to take a look at it and work with, the township staff and whomever to see if you can either reduce the variance and submit a revised application potentially, or else, when you come before the board again, we can help suggest mitigating factors.
I'm kind of like confused because how can we approve anything if we're not sure exactly what we're approving as coverage? Because it could turn out to be 40% for all we know.
I think that's why Kate's saying what she just did.
Yeah.
And Bob as well, that we don't really know what the numbers are that they need to do what they want to do.
But but going by their engineer originally, he said it would, with the total around the pool installation and the total around it. So I'm guessing that if he's saying that with the pool, it's 36.3, and we're looking at that additional 3 feet of coverage that we're talking about, I could contact the pool company and the engineer and say, just give me a plan removing that, which would bring the coverage down from their initial estimate, right? And then I could probably run it up to you guys for.
Well, the thing is, it's not going to happen tonight. And when we approve a variance, we generally approve a variance with a specific number. And what you're saying and what our professionals are saying, because of these differences, we don't have a number to approve tonight.
And also, Mr. Chairman, because of the close proximity to both adjacent properties, I'm concerned with the drainage and the mitigation of the drainage based on the overage of the over percentage of the lot coverage, and how they're going to mitigate that. Again, I would like to see some more natural methods of doing that as opposed to the traditional dry wells, French drains, and the like. So when they can finalize the lot coverage, they should also incorporate those types of revisions to the plan so we can just do it one time.
Yeah, I mean, I'll pick up as well with what Mr. Bucko said, that, I mean, you mentioned that it slopes to the rear and to the next property. Well, it's inappropriate to dump water on a neighbor's property.
Regardless of whether it's open space or
whatever.
Natural cause of it. I'm not necessarily saying it's sloping into it. It's just that's what's back to our property.
Yeah, but whatever. And this is where an engineer comes in, that effectively the state and municipal stormwater rules say, whatever you do, you shouldn't impact a neighbor in any way. And when you add coverage, you create additional runoff. And the question here is, where's that going to go? You have to address it somehow on your own property.
So the runoff would be like they were stating earlier, coming off the roof and the gutters, tying them into a gutter, leading them out to the street, or natural shrubs and plants.
Well, what's preferred, the state has recently adopted some new rules for major developments, but the general theme, and they are talking about it and doing it, we don't have that in place yet, to do natural infiltration to the ground to the extent feasible. Now, you don't have a lot of space here, but there are techniques that can be implemented to try to do so. And what's appropriate for this will depend exactly on how much coverage you really are exceeding by, and hence what an engineer feels can be done on the property itself.
Okay, so if we get all that done, how long would it take for the process? And the reason that I ask is because when we started this process, before we got to all this with the pool company, they were actually fit us in on a schedule. Next month, they would have started doing it so we'd have it for the summer. So is there a way that we could get this fast tracked up to the engineer and through everybody?
Well, the first step is for you to review this with your engineer and get the necessary engineering work done and a modified, completed drawing to the zoning board office to Loretta, and she would pass it on to our professionals, Bob and Kate, and the board members. So how long that takes, that's a function of you and your professionals.
Okay.
At that point, I think what we're doing from a notice point of view, Marty, that since this hearing was formally noticed, your neighbors were noticed about this for tonight, can we carry it to a date specific?
Yeah,
And then we wouldn't have to notice again?
So the question is, we can put you on for 2 weeks as an example, but that may not be enough time realistically for your engineer and our engineer to review. So you may want to ask for what, if we have availability, that whatever is, let's say about 30 days out from now, but you know, that's
Right, we're not gonna get the pool
assuming we
in
have room on the calendar.
Loretta, what's the board schedule for, say, the, April 7th meeting? And we've had,
I could actually, if he can get them to me quickly, I could squeeze him in on April 7th. I have that other hearing, the Dementia Center, but it's not been deemed complete yet. So I don't know if they'll be ready for April 7th anyway.
oh,
They
Bob,
might be, I don't know.
have you seen any of the updates on that yet?
I
Bob?
have not.
No,
No.
I haven't gotten any revised documents, no plans, no reports, nothing.
Okay.
So that won't be ready.
That's a biggie.
Yeah, because they wouldn't have noticed. They won't. Yeah, that would have to happen really quickly. I mean, I think in this case, like I know that we're asking for this information, but I mean, again, this is between the applicant and his professional, but I don't know how much, new work will have to be done. It's more just making sure that you have the numbers and you have the information, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, at this point,
Right.
we're not asking to redesign the site. It's just just the information what we have.
Well, there's a
Correct.
little
That's
bit of redesign for the stormwater management.
Well, yes, I mean, he's
Yeah.
got to show some landscaping around there.
Yeah.
If he's going to go with the natural, which I'm sure, just listening, the board would prefer that as opposed to just the traditional under drains and seepage pits.
Yeah.
So that would be a minor plan change, but Kate's right. We need to know exactly what the lot coverage is that they want to do. And we heard from the applicant that, the concrete patio on the right-hand side isn't what they wanted. They just wanted the 3 foot around the pool. So, those are the types of things. That's why we asked, both Kate and I asked for that lot coverage table. So we do know exactly what they're asking for, and then the board can make an informed decision as to whether or not to grant the lot coverage overage or not.
Understood.
Let's see.
Bob,
Yeah.
also, like number 10, comment on the plans, it actually tells you that they're planning to drain all the water to the street from the pool.
Yeah, and then,
So they
well,
need to
yeah,
update those notes too.
correct, because we just heard from the applicant that they want to take it to the back.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it shouldn't be going to the street, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, I apologize, but I didn't know that. I didn't look at that. If it's going to the street, that's not whatever's beneficial to this project is how it's going to be done.
It has to go back into the ground, not to the street.
Yeah, okay, yeah, so we're going back with the natural, like you said earlier.
Yeah, and I think I think that once when you have the numbers of what it's going to look like, that will give Bob and the board an opportunity to review it, and that will also, maybe even some of the site, some of the landscaping things, might have to be revised as a condition of approval. But so this point, it's crucial that, we just get the scope of the application and the percentage. And also, I mean, I think that in the long run, this is very helpful for you as a property owner, just to make sure that so you won't run into this kind of issue in the future. But yeah, then just for the township records, it's important.
Right, and knowing the exact lot coverage, that'll let me know if the additional runoff is properly mitigated.
Okay, and also,
But so I know what the size, and if they want to do, like, an example of a natural thing would be a rain garden. I've mentioned that before. So they're sized to handle additional runoff. So by knowing the exact lot coverage, the overage, and that would help me determine whether or not what they proposed would adequately address the additional runoff from the lot coverage.
So Mr. Bucco and Ms. Keller, so basically you want, of course, lot coverage and natural, just the natural, like the grass, I'm sorry, not the grass, some kind of natural landscaping.
Right, yeah, like I said, maybe a rain garden or some natural swales, things of that nature, that as opposed to putting, and it helps you out because nature's going to take care of the water. You won't have to deal with a seepage pit or a French drain years down the road with maintenance.
Correct.
That's what,
And I think it also, I mentioned this in the last application, but it can really complement the pool as well.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I think, just we'd like a breakdown of the impervious coverage.
Okay.
Like how, and we can scale some of this out, but it's, your engineer has the information. And so, I think that would just be easier. And then a zoning table, which just kind of just make sure that all of the setbacks, everything like that is just for everyone's review.
and the shed too, you talked about the
And
shed.
yes, the applicant is, I feel like you've indicated that you're willing to move the shed so that it complies.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's
Okay.
Yeah, so show that on the plan also.
Yeah, show that on the plan as a proposed location, and if the board were, eventually to grant this variance, that would be one of the conditions of approval, likely.
Okay, so the impervious coverage, the rain garden runoff, and move the shed, and you want that all to be on the updated
Right,
plan.
and the setbacks also.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, zoning table. Mhm.
And the zoning table with the setback.
Write those things down, those terms.
But can I, if I may
Yeah,
ask, why,
your engineer will know all of those. Mhm.
with all of these conditions that we're imposing, why can't we just make these conditions? Like, why do we, let's just say, let's give them the benefit of the doubt in saying that there is 36% coverage here when he's allowed 30. The issues of water runoff and all the other points that were raised are going to stand regardless. Why can't we let him confirm if in fact that is the exact coverage that's going to be here with the conditions that we've just mentioned, or that you guys have just mentioned? I mean, time is of the essence. I'm sensitive to that. This was put together by an engineer. Obviously, he didn't stipulate on the plan the lot coverage, but the concrete pads are they're here. I could see them. The pool coverage, it's here. Everything looks like it's here. Where did they get that 36.3 number? So taken for granted that that number is accurate for just a minute, why don't we let them confirm that? We'll make the conditions where they got to put some of these rain gardens in to handle the the water runoff. Mr. Beelen, is your pool filter going to be chlorine or is it going to be salt?
Salt.
Salt. So that's even better. I mean,
Right.
we're not talking about dumping chemical into the ground. We're talking about dumping clean water with, a salt system. I just think that it would speed up the process if in fact what he's submitting is accurate in terms of the setbacks, which it appears the rear is 15 feet, the side is 18 and 21.5, even 21.5 with a 6-foot deck. If the 36.3 impervious coverage is accurate, that 6-foot deck still leaves him well within the setbacks. So his setbacks are good around this whole pool. I think that if we make,
I guess the difficulty I have is you said that this drawing is not accurate in showing what they
Right.
to buy, and
Well,
hence we can't assume that the 36 is correct.
We could approve it up to 36.3%. And if it's over, then he'll have to come back.
Right, then he has to come back, you know, but
Well, we could solve it today up to the numbers we're given. And if the numbers are wrong, then he's either going to have to modify his plans to conform to his approval, or he's going to have to come back for a modified variance.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I would just, Marty, do you have a comment on this? Is that, how do you, what are your thoughts on that?
We would approve a variance for lot coverage up to a certain number. In this case, assuming it's the number we have, 36.6 or 36.3, whatever that number is. And subject to those conditions, just like the previous ones, obviously, you know, resubmission to the professionals, subject to their approval. And if there's anything that's not right, if he's over, if that coverage is wrong, as I think Valerie stated, they need to have to re-engineer and make smaller their pool or those features, or come back for an increased number for another variance or an amended approval. So,
I'm not in favor of making, I think Anthony's right. I think this is just a pool, and lots of people in that development have pools. We've done a bunch of variances in that neighborhood for pools to make it easier on them so they don't have to come back. I'm in favor of giving them the conditions. It's still subject to Bob's approval for everything. So Bob and Kate still get to decide that it's meeting the conditions and it's meeting the runoff conditions, and we'll approve the lot coverage number now.
There's so much that's, if there were one or two items less, I think I could go along with it, but there are so many items that are unclear here as to what's happening that haven't been addressed yet. I'd feel it more appropriate to continue without further public notice, but ask them to come back with at least something a little closer to what we're going to be asked to approve.
Ralph, if we list all of these conditions that we've been talking about on the resolution, and between Kate and Bob, if they can't meet those all those items on this resolution, this pool is going to get delayed till the summer anyway. You know, where they're not going to start construction in 3 or 4 weeks. That's basically impossible no matter what we do. So why not just let them go through with all of our conditions that we've talked about and see if they can meet them. If they can meet them with the engineer and the planner, then okay, so they might save a week or two not coming back to us. That's about all they're going to probably save.
That's a lot now, Dimitri. It's pool time. If you don't get your pool in now, you're not getting it in for the summer.
Yeah, but they still have to get building permits too. So
right, but that's why this week or two is important, because they can get started now on not waiting the 2 weeks till we meet again. They can get their plans updated now. They can get it over to Bob now. They can get the approvals, and then they can get started on their permits.
Well, that's what I said. I said, Valerie, as long as we list all the conditions we spoke about and as conditions on the resolution, and they meet them to the satisfaction of Bob and Kate, then they don't need to come back.
I agree with you. It's what I said to start with.
But the problem is that if it's a lot of things on there, like Ralph said, so there's a good possibility that they may have real difficulty meeting all those conditions with this size of this property. But that's up to them.
But to ask you the question, are you talking about the conditions as far as coverage, rain gardens, moving the shed and zoning table?
All of it.
So 2 things. One is, Mr. Blumenthal, just to help, just to put it right in your mind, I didn't say I wasn't understanding of this whole diagram. This is from a licensed engineer. The additional 3 feet of concrete on the right side is what was brought to my attention. And I said, we were under the impression we were going with 3 feet around it all. That was the only thing that I was unaware until you brought it to my attention. So as far as the coverage, the rain garden, and the other things, not to be repetitive, but somebody said that the engineer has all that information. I could contact them and say, the information that you previously took, I need you to put it together to show the board that this is, what the impervious coverage and all these regulations are met. you know, I'm just kind of at a loss right now because you know, everything is licensed. Everything is through licensed people. It's not like we, you know.
And we have no
And-
issue
and-
going from the 6 feet to the 3 feet
Yeah,
at all. So
at all.
I can't see us exceeding the coverage, but only making
But-
it less. I
Yeah.
can't-
That, exactly.
Well, we don't
Exactly.
know
So-
we don't know what the engineer included when he told you the 36 number.
That's correct.
We don't know, but we're making a decision as to what lot coverage we're comfortable approving. And then after that, it's up to them to come in to our professional satisfaction under that number. So Kate and Bob, if it's 36.3, if that's the number we're going with, then they'll have to come in under that number or they're not going to get their building permits.
I agree
Right.
with that. I mean, then you could break into the question of, is the board comfortable with 36.3%? Which, you know, is
Well, that's it.
Well,
really
that's kind of a number that we've been doing in that development because the problem,
right.
we talked about this before, that the town and the builder set all of these residents up for failure in getting a house with no ability to put any improvements on it. So
Yeah.
every one of these people's over their lot coverage every time they want to do anything in their yard. And it's, in my opinion, it's unfair to prevent people from having a swimming pool in our town. It's really something you're entitled to. And so I think we need to do everything we can to allow them to have a pool. Bob is going to make sure I have all confidence in our professionals, more and more every week, and what a great job they're doing, that they're going to make sure that all runoff issues are properly resolved. And right, Bob, you're comfortable doing this offline?
Yes.
And Kate.
And Kate?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we just like to double check everything, you know,
Right.
it's for the applicant, you know, Mr. Beelen, it's like, you know, obviously this is a licensed engineer. He prepared a proper plan to specifications, but when the items aren't listed out like this, we're not sure if his measurements like conform to what our ordinance requires to be measured, things like that. So, you know, it's not like this is some amateur plan. Of course it's not, you know, it's a well-done, professionally engineered plan. But, you know, we just want to double check, make sure that, especially for Bob's sake, that everything has been measured properly.
Without the zoning.
And, right. And I'll make another suggestion, is that your engineer put a signature box on the plan for the engineer, the chairman, and the secretary. So that way, when you get a plan that has all three signatures, you know it was done properly. And then you should have no problem getting any permit to build that pool.
And we're still doing an as-built too.
Correct.
Of course. Mr. Beelen, if you want to speed this up, right, tomorrow, your engineer should modify the plans, put all the drainage suggestions on there, your lot coverage and these other items, and get them back to Ms. Keller and Mr. Bucko as soon as possible.
Loretta.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course to Loretta, but
Well, Loretta handles the distribution.
Yeah, Loretta will distribute it to us. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if that's the board, the directions, if the board feels comfortable in that direction, I'll just, you know, from a planning perspective, you know, the applicant just have to feel, the board needs to feel comfortable that the applicant has met the proofs, you know, that the benefits of this location outweigh the detriments, or that there is a hardship here. And that, no, there will not be any detriment to the surrounding neighborhood.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Blumenthal,
Yes.
if I could just say something too. You know, I mean, I understand, you know, all the points. I just want you all to know, because we're new here, and I know it has nothing to do with us being, but it, you know, I was a fire official up north. I am, you know, I live and breathe by law and ordinance. I'm part of this community, me and my wife. This is not a springboard town for us. We're here for the duration. You know, I joined the volunteers down here just because I want to already give back to my community. So whatever is going to appease, you know, the board. We want to be so far transparent and on board that I don't want there to be any question. You know, we want to do what's right in our community.
Good.
Yeah.
Do any of the other board members have any questions or comments about this application?
did you open it up to the public? I can't remember.
Not yet.
Yeah, but does Marty have all of this stuff down on paper and Bob and Kate? So we're all on the same page here?
Come on.
Okay. Sure, because we've been talking in circles here.
I got 6 of them.
That's
Okay.
what Marty's here for.
Come on.
To remind people, do you want to list them, Marty?
Yep. So we have the breakdown, the lot coverage breakdown. We have the zoning table. We have the grading setback issue. We have the shed being moved. We have the signature box. We have the as-built. That'll be a condition, the as-built. And then there was one other one. I don't know if that was resolved as part of the other ones, is the backwater, the backwash from the pool equipment. That has to be just shown, I guess, Bob, whatever you want it for that. Just show that where it's going.
Yes.
Going to go into the garden.
And then
Yeah,
also,
well, yeah, and that, and it being a salt treatment is a big plus.
And that's note number 10, right, on the plans.
Right.
That should be
Right.
modified.
and
Yeah,
more
just tell him to
generally-
get rid of note number 10.
Yeah, and more generally to take steps to mitigate the stormwater flow from the increased coverage.
Correct.
Which the rain garden will help with.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, that was just an example. There's plenty of
Yeah.
different ways to do that. But the rain garden brings a lot of nice landscaping features around the pool that I think you would enjoy.
Thank you. Yes.
And do any of the board members have any other questions or comments at this point in time? Okay, before we can move on, but we do need to open, this is a public hearing. We do need to open it to members of the public if they have questions or wish to comment on this application. So I will do that at this time. If someone is listening in or watching in and they'd like to make a question or a comment, please push the raise hand button at the bottom of the screen. Or if you've called in, then enter a dial 9. Does any members of the public wish to make any questions or comments at this time?
There are no hands up at this time.
Okay, so the public has been offered an opportunity to comment. There is no public apparently that wishes to comment, so we'll close the public hearing, the public portion of this hearing. Is there any board discussion at this point in time? Questions, comments? To the Beelans, would you like to make a finally set of comments or a question to the board to summarize what we've been hearing and what your position is?
I think that we've, I don't want to sound like we're beating a dead horse. We just appreciate the board fitting us in. And, we just thank you for your time and your consideration and input. And we will be on this first thing in the morning and getting it up to you ASAP. So thank you for the guidance on it, Mr. Blumenthal and board.
Thank you.
So what, I just want to know what number we're going with. What was the original request on the lot coverage? 36.3.
36.3.
The application says 36.3.
Okay.
Hey, I know this is
Actually, there's 2 pieces to that. The application says it's currently 30.3 and they want to go to 36.3. But it's not apparent that the 30.3 was ever approved, so that any resolution probably has to address both of those items.
Right, like last time.
So we can do this with one motion. Would someone like to make the motion addressing both of those
Yeah, I mean,
and the conditions that we've been discussed?
I'll make the motion. Marty, I may need a little help here with some of these conditions, but I'll make the motion granting the lot coverage of 36.3%, confirming the setbacks, a grading plan, the removal of the shed, removing line 10 off the existing pool plot plan.
Note
confirming the saltwater filtration system, and then finalizing it with an as-built survey.
Is there a second?
There's 9 altogether, so it's subject to all 9 conditions that we've gone over.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second the motion.
No, I'll let Francine second.
Good. Is there any discussion on the motion? Got a motion and a second. Notification of anyone wanting to talk further tonight. The roll call, please.
Ms. Avron,
Yes.
Mr. Buffalino,
Yes.
Ms. Campus,
Yes.
Mr. Hearn,
Yes.
Mr. Pesci,
Yes.
Mr. Orphanatopoulos,
Yes.
Mr. Blumenthal.
Yes.
Okay,
Congratulations.
congratulations.
Yeah, Loretta will look forward to hearing from you as soon as you can work things out with your engineer.
We'll see you tomorrow, Rob.
Boy, Loretta's a real MVP tonight.
Yes. I'm kind of happy it happened this way because I already was figuring out how I could talk to Loretta some more.
You know, Loretta doesn't get to vote, right?
Thanks, Val.
She did a great job and should be recognized. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
She does do a great job.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, we have a couple of items on our agenda yet.
Ralph, before we move on, we need to come up with a solution for this, what happened tonight with all these applicants not having the right information on the plans, whether we fix the checklist or our professionals, when they see this and they see these things missing, let's not have it come to the board yet until everything is done. Because this is not the first time this has happened. This is repetitive. So we need to fix this tonight where either Loretta, tells the applicant, hey, this is not going to work, or Bob or Kate or somebody, because we just can't have this happening all the time.
Dimitri, I'm not a professional. I can't look at their plans and know what's correct and what's not.
Well, I didn't say what's correct, but I'm saying not having this coverage information, basic stuff like that should be on all the plans.
I don't disagree with you, but it's not my role to see that or say it.
Okay,
let me Dimitri.
Bob would have to do it, or Kate, and say, don't schedule this one because they need new plans because this is all missing.
Well, Dimitri, let me suggest something.
It's annoying.
Yeah, I agree with you, but let me suggest that Bob and Kate, together with Loretta, come up with a simplified checklist for these kinds of applications. They can draft that checklist, bring it back to the board, we can comment on it. And then I think to formally adopt it, it actually has to go to the township committee.
Yeah, that's not, unfortunately, that's not our purview. That's the town.
Yeah, I mean, well, so
Can we recommend this to them though?
Yeah, we talked about this before.
Yeah, I think that would be part of an overall checklist overhaul. I think, since I started, Bob's been handling the completeness reviews. I'm happy to, and I don't know how, like how it was handled in the past. I'm happy to help. Just if there's something in particular, I think that just a basic, we usually look. The thing is that every once in a while you do get one where it's not necessarily as relevant, but I think a basic, a zoning table is usually something we look for.
But, I think if we create a simplified checklist, we can,
just for the, like
Loretta can use with the applicant.
Yeah, well, Loretta and I did put together somewhat of the type of form you're talking about, but I can expand on it. So when they come in, these people come in for pool, variances for pools and lot coverage, that there'll be like you said, a modified checklist that they have to. This is the basic bare minimum information we need to have on the plan so the board can make an informed decision.
I'm okay with that, but like Marty said, that may take the township committee to approve. I'm just saying until that happens, when we get the plans, because you get them before us, if you see things like that missing, tell Loretta right away, these things are missing. Why wait till tonight to bring all these things up and cause us all this, hardship? If it was all done in the beginning, we would have had approved them and been done with a half an hour ago.
And then also, two of them had, where we were questioned whether they had approved variances before.
Right.
That's, that we should know ahead of time, so we're not saying, do you know if this variance was approved?
Exactly.
That's
correct, Francine.
It's probably a one-page document, and hopefully no more, that, if Bob and Loretta want to start on it, we can look at it, and then we can informally use it, but we can't formally force applicants to do it until it gets adopted by the township committee. But we got to start with something on paper.
Right. But if our professional says, hey, you need this and this on your plans, and they don't want to do it, then you say, well, at the hearing, if it's done, it's going to delay your application. So we're not forcing them, we're giving them a choice.
Right.
Because Dimitri, the issue here is that, because of the way that the checklist is currently formed, everything is like very siloed. So an application at this scale, they're not required to have basic things like a zoning table or stuff like that. And so the issue, from Bob's perspective, is that it can't, formally, it can't, that's not a reason to deem it incomplete. I agree that practically it does not help anybody doing it like that. So I think that, in the long term, a separate checklist for backyard variances, should be established. But in the meantime, I think that's even if it's not a formal incomplete thing, that it's something that could be mentioned. But I see that where the issue lies, because once the plans come, if it's not formally incomplete, they're not obligated to resubmit something.
Their motivation will be, listen, you should have it done because you have a chance at the hearing of requesting it and delaying you by another month. So it's up to you.
You can
Or
put,
we're going to do a lot of these conditional approvals, like, what we did tonight. We condition that as long as everything's correct and the engineers then will, the condition. I think it's better that they have it for their own sake. I know if I was a comment, I would want to know that I have to go back and do that.
This is clearly a concern of everybody. So if Bob and Loretta can take a start at it, and we'll refine it and work the process and try to improve all our efficiency at
The
this.
suggestion I have is, because again, we can't run afoul of the town's ordinances, but I would rather you call it something along the lines of frequently asked questions.
Yeah.
So Loretta can hand out this one-page form that says, these are some frequently asked questions that this board will be asking you. And if so, you have a table of, the setbacks, are they there or not? It's going to be asked. So helpful hint, you better put it on your plan. So maybe you can couch it in such a way, we don't want to run afoul and be accused of creating our own ordinance, which we don't have. We don't have that power to do.
Why don't we just call it, like you just said, helpful hints for,
We can start with that and then work the process of getting an ordinance later.
I think that's a good idea for a stopgap measure, and that can be something, you can work that out with the zoning office, but something that could just be, handed off, to immediately when someone's first.
All right, so Loretta will work on that with who? With Marty or with Bob?
No, that's Bobby, Kate, and Loretta.
All right.
Bob needs more.
By next meeting, Bob, let's have it all done.
Whatever.
Why are you laughing, guys? Why not? We'll never get this done. It's the
we'll start with the draft.
Yeah, make sure you work on it on Easter Sunday. That would be a good day to do it.
there you go.
Yeah.
April Fool's Day.
Friday, so work on it that day.
Loretta, is there not an agenda for the next meeting at this point then?
If the Dementia Center doesn't hand anything in and you have no review ready, there's not going to be a meeting that day. I have nothing else.
Well, look,
scheduled.
I could, Loretta and I could put a draft together and Loretta could just email it to you guys.
Sure.
Yeah, no.
Are we talking about something different?
Well, we're talking about helpful hints for plan
I thought we were talking about the next meeting.
preparation.
We are talking about the next meeting.
We are.
We were talking to Bonnie while we were talking.
Okay. All right, let's go on to the next item, item 4.
We're done.
Jerry,
The memorializing resolution, Leah and Mitchell Harbel, 15 Greenleaf Way, Block 58.05, Lot 3 in the RTH cluster zone. ZB variance number 444. Applicant seeks variance relief to build an additional over the existing family room and garage. Requested floor plan ratio is 30.125%, where 20% is permitted, and the requested lot coverage is 41.2%, where 30% is permitted. You know, these houses are in the same zone.
Same development.
Same
So
neighbor.
It's the same
why
development up
is,
there.
why is it 30% in this particular case, and then the former folks that were just on have a different requirement?
No, they're
well,
both
the
30%.
lots vary in
Same.
size. The lots vary in size, the pools vary in size, the houses vary in size.
But the lot coverage.
The
is
lot coverage should be the
30%.
same, shouldn't it?
It's 30% for both Harbel and the one we just had. These current people were asking to go to 36 too. Harbel's did not need the lot coverage variance because that was given by a prior resolution, which they had a copy of. So that piece of that
Right, I remember
request
that.
was withdrawn, but they're at 40, they're over 40%. So to go to Valerie's point, a lot of people have approvals and they exceed the 30%.
We've done a whole bunch of variances.
That's right.
That development is a walking variance over there.
This is probably our fifth or
What
sixth
to do?
in the last 4 years or 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay,
Both the one tonight was also 30%. They're already a little over, and then they're trying to go from 30 to
Oh,
36.
I thought it was 28, I'm sorry.
No, that was
that
the
was
previous
the
one.
previous one. It's a long night.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's a long night.
we have a draft resolution that Marty sent to us about this item. Does anybody have any questions or comments on the resolution as submitted? We have a motion to approve the resolution.
I'll motion.
Jerry,
Is there a
Second.
second?
I'll second it.
Francine,
Roll call?
Miss Avon,
Yes.
Mr. Buffalino,
Yes.
Miss Campus,
Yes.
Mr. Hearn,
Yes.
Mr. Pesci,
Yes.
Mr. Obanatopoulos,
Yes.
Mr. Blumenthal.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, we're just gonna do one set of minutes, one I pulled. So we're gonna do February 3rd.
And on the February 3rd minutes, I had suggested to Loretta and Marty to comment that we add a note that there was a question about the posting of this, and hence the meeting was reaffirmed on the 17th.
Yes.
I added the note.
Okay. Did anybody have any other additions or corrections to these minutes? With that addition, a motion to approve, motion, was that Valerie?
Motion.
Second? Is there a
I'll second.
Don, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, minutes approved.
Is there any other business for this evening? Kate, Bob, Marty,
None?
Nothing, Mr. Chairman.
I make a motion, we adjourn the meeting.
is there a
Oh,
second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Hey, everybody.
Okay, good